Nick trying to cast. I've been yet again changing my video settings, and this time I want to showcase, or try at least to showcase, a card called Campaign of Vengeance that I recently acquired opening a Eldritch Moon pack. So the idea behind this deck is to go ahead and try how this performs, and I'm running a lot of enchantments and cards with synergy with the enchantments, such as the Sigil of the Empty Throne, a very expensive and ambitious card, but once it's running it's quite powerful, but we are going to have to wait a lot to get there. So there are also many other enchantment synergic cards. So let's see, there are many options available to tweak a little bit of the deck. So we also running Sanitarium Skeleton because some cards are asking us for sacrifices, and this can be a recurrent creature to sacrifice over and over, and also a cheap blocker. So I'm going to try to go ahead and see how this deck performs on his first try, and see if we can gather info to maybe make some changes. Let's see what we find with this. So we have to explore this new enchantment. I would like to see it in action. So once we are on attack, we are going to be winning life and losing, and our opponent loses according to the number of creatures that we are attacking with. So let's see here, a nice hand, but with 3 drops and up and just 2 lands. I think we need to guarantee that we can play something. So this time we have 2 lands, but a couple of early drops. So we have our Sanitary Skeleton to begin with. Also Deathwake that can be used as a removal spell for cheap creatures. Sinister Concoction to destroy a large creature, but doing a lot of stuff in the process. We have Infernal Scarring, that is an enchantment that often you don't want to risk playing this. Most of the time you're going to be finding better cards to use, but this has the peculiarity of having that when the creature dies we get to draw a card. So we go ahead and enchant the skeleton, so it becomes a 3/2 and attack, putting our opponent at 17. He's running blue and red, so possibly a lot of spells and sorcery coming our way. That is not good news to our deck, because the removal and bouncing are very bad against enchantments. But let's hope that we can get to put out our Bladecaster sometime soon. This can help us amplify the value of our cards. Here we receive 1 point of damage, and this clearly indicates that our opponent is not willing to block with his Stone Chaser Mage. So we could set up to kill the mage on next turn, maybe. We can also make him weaker, since we do not have lands. That is very difficult to make around. Our choices are quite limited. We could play Sinister Concoction, but that's kind of expensive to activate, but maybe we have to get rid of this one at any cost. So let's play this and let's hope that our next turn looks better. So we would love to see some lands for us. We have the new enchantment from their last patch, the Angelic Destiny. Kind of expensive but very powerful, since if the creature enchanted dies, this card returns to our hand. So Stone Chaser Mage still hitting us for I mean, as for one. And now maybe we should kill this reckless scholar before it starts drawing, and we ran out of options here. We hit again. This skeleton is doing a good job by reducing our opponent life, already at 11. But unless we get to draw some more lands, we are pretty much tied to this one. But if our opponent does us a favor and kills it, we get to draw just the win, and that is very unfortunate because this does not kill the skeleton but returns it to our hand, so we do not get to draw. And this time we get hit by 2 since Stormchaser Mage has prowess and has gained +1/+1 for the turn. And now we are pretty much hopeless here since we do not have lands to play our cards. So maybe it is wise to just go ahead with this and kill this guy and kill. Let's discard the skeleton and we lost a land, but if we had drawn this it would have entered the battlefield tapped, so I think that it's not too bad that we do not draw into that. Now our opponent has white too in the deck, that's quite peculiar. So what of all the possible white cards that he could choose to have, which one is he going to be playing? We don't know. So here we can risk ourselves by playing the Cursed Knight this turn, but it will be exposed to any 2 damage our opponent can do. But if we have any enchantment on play, such as the Retreat to Hagra, then when this enters the battlefield it's going to have +1/+1, so it's a bit tougher. So another white land for our opponent, so that it's even more strange. And we have our Werbird landscape that works pretty nice with the Retreat to Hagra and even Retreat to Emeria. So I think that it is a good moment to play this. Each opponent loses 1 life. Okay. So given the land distribution of our opponent, I'm expecting him to having a counter spell. So I think I'm going to try to play the Blightcaster and see if our opponent has a counter spell. So apparently not. This resolves and our opponent can activate Jace and he will be transforming into the Planeswalker. And also he got to cast a Madness card. So we have lost our Blightcaster, and why did Jace did not transform? Oh, that's quite cool because this one was exiled. Jace did not transform, and I think that actually helps our opponent in the current situation. Now I think our opponent is forcing us to discard. No, he discarded his own hand. And okay, so far I'm not seeing any white cards. That's quite interesting. The Blighted Gorge is kind of worrisome. And now finally Jace has transformed. Our opponent discarded Ravage in place. and gave -2 to the defender that will be having just, I mean, it's already 0, so it doesn't matter too much. So I think that here we're going to go ahead and play our enchantment because we want to take the chance now that our opponent is tapped. So let's fill the board with some tokens from retreat to Emeria, and we get to gain some life from the retreat to Hagra and pass the turn. Because here it's best to wait until the end of our opponent's turn to crack the evolving wilds, because the opponent might be running some card to kill our tokens. So we are going to take 4 from the exquisite firecraft and then 1 from the thermal alchemist. Once again, the Jace is reducing the strength of his 0-level creature. Now let's get a plains. When we play here and here. So now let's try to attack Jace and see what happens. The idea here is that if our opponent is going to block one of these, it's going to be having 1 point of damage assigned. So now we cast Death Weight on this creature, and this should die. Let's see, our opponent activates his ability before. Sure. And now let's use the Warpath landscape. I think that we can wait a little bit to activate this to search for another swamp, since we already have 2 plains. So the Jace is quite dangerous here because he can bring back some spells from the graveyard. And here, this one. Right. Very cool. Let's try. Oh my. That was bad. I should have done this before because we would received a 1/1 blocker, but now we missed the chance. So Jace is casting something now. I mean, Jace makes the exquisite firecraft. Now we have to activate this to survive this attack. Come on. Alright, we are going to be at 1 life point. That is very dangerous. And this died. Why? Well, this card is not familiar to me. At the beginning of the end step, sacrifice. Wow, very strange card actually. So we have the skeleton. We are at 1 life. Our opponent at 7, and we have except little thanks to the angelic destiny, and now we can swing for little here, attack all to the player, and we survive it. I was afraid, I was petrified, but we survived. Well done, deck. So nice debut. We didn't get to see why our opponent was running white in his mana base. I'm quite curious about what kind of cards he might have added into that selection of blue and red sorceries and instants. And now we are going ahead and try our luck once again. I think that we got quite lucky on our last play there, but quite unlucky on our lands, a little slow at the beginning, but finally we managed to get the lands that we wanted. And of course, without lands, there's no cards that you can play. Let's see how it goes here. Let's go ahead and take a peek. We are going to be playing first, and we have 3 lands on our hand and a few of cards that we can play. I like having all the colors that we require here. So, and also Shambling Band can become a creature later on. So our opponent on blue and green and using a tapped land is not a good indication for us. So I think that our opponent is going to be trying to play much more colors than just these 2. Just a hunch, because this land is entering always tapped, so there are better blue and green cards to play that, or maybe not. So Undercity Troll. The Undercity Troll can block without trouble our militia captain. I think that we better kill it right away using the Sinister Concoction. So, alright, this is a big risk, but this is extremely lucky because we hit on a skeleton on the graveyard that we might want to return to our hand next turn. So we pay 3 to bring this back to our hand, and for 1 black we can play it. So extremely luck. So I think that we have not drained our luck with that play. So we have the isolation zone for to remove a bigger threat. So now let's drop a plains. Let's try to attack and see what happens. Possibly the opponent just takes the damage. That was reasonable. And now we are going to fetch our skeleton from the graveyard and drop it. And there we go. We have a blocker for next turn. And the good thing of the skeleton is that it's going to be here for us all the time. The only way to get rid of this is by exiling him. So now the opponent has the Willow Rope. I'm going to make this one unblockable. That's quite peculiar. We take 1 point of damage. So this 1 card is quite useful, but maybe it's not the right time to use it, because I think that activating the Shambling Band might be to our best interest in this turn. So let's go ahead and attack for 2, and I expect the opponent is not going to block the Shambling Band. So we hit for 2 and gain 2 life. We are back at 20. And alright, our cards are 4 mana gods, so I don't think there's too much point into playing a land this turn. Maybe I'm going to regret this, but I'm going to save it for the retreat to Miria. So a second Wheeler Rogue is going to be complicating our situation, so we have to start using the Blightcaster to remove this from here. Also the Thopters. The opponent might have a Chief of the Foundry to pump up all the Thopters. So we're at 16, but the next turn is going to be quite difficult for us, so I'm going ahead to play in the Blightcaster, and let's hold back the attackers here. And the opponent has the lead now. He could be running any form of remove, or can bring back bounce our cards, or lots of pump up spells. He's also drawing more cards, so we are not quite there yet. We are running also this card, pretty interesting. Disperse, I thought so. So this one returns to our hand, and we are going to be hit by 4 in the air, plus, right, more. This attack is quite not good looking. He sent this to attack. So let's go ahead. This is so dead, but I don't want to. Oh, that was a bluff. Interesting. Quite interesting. So we could activate the Shambly Pent. We could Isolation Zone. For we're going to get 4 damage for sure, and possibly much more from the guys in the air, and possible some pump up spells. So I think that our opponent might kill us on next turn. Let's see what happens now. Maybe he has telling time here. Nothing happens. And we are about to be, maybe we are going to receive the finishing blow here. Frost links. Boom. We are 1 blocker less on our side, and our opponent declares attack. All of this. We are going to search for a swamp, let's say. Here it comes. We place an alley core token. So 4 plus this. Alright, there's no much choice here, and I think that doesn't matter how we block, we are still dead. We're going to be taking at least 7 damage here, but this is going down. Okay, so quite extraordinary. Another land is very good, and with this we might bring back the sanitary skeleton. But let's see, is it possible for us to survive another attack? There are 4 flyers, so we could gain 2 life, so we would have to block all the ground creatures and have 3 mana open to activate the Shambling Vents, so we are left with 2, so I think we are very much dead here. So let's just play the cards and pass the turn and take with honor the defeat. We are going to let the opponent to kill us because we have some sort of honor. And let's see what happens next. So for if our opponent just attacks with the flyers, we are dead. So let's let him do that. And that's it. Well, let's try again with the deck and see what to do. So from this match, I did not get the impression that our deck was particularly bad suited with some specific card. I think that we do not have enough information yet to make a modification of the deck as it is. So let's play once again to get a better idea, a better impression. I think that we are getting a little bit tight on the mana that we want to have. So our best cards are maybe too expensive, and we are not getting the lands to play them. But other than that, I think the cards are fine, but or maybe fine or maybe bad. So we'll see now. So here 5 lands in hand this time, but out of these 5, 3 of them are fetch lands. I'm going to keep that because if we get our retreats, this is going to be very nice, and we can play our 2 creatures eventually, thanks to this Shambling Vent. So let's begin with one of the Evolving Wilds and fetch a Swamp, just because there are some 1 mana drops on black in the deck. Not too many, but just in case. Here comes the take inventory. This lets the opponent draw a card, and it's going to increase the value later on. The more of these are in the graveyard. So here we got the retreat to Hagra. That is pretty good for us. Now I think that we could play this next, maybe. Let's see what our opponent is doing here. So Jace and a drawing spell. So this could be about drawing all the deck and killing us with lots of spells. That is a very smart idea. We are going to go ahead and play planes and retreat to Hagra. Just because the Jace, other than drawing and discarding, is quite inoffensive by the time being. This card also is an enabler for the madness, so that's a very important aspect. And here, the Oath of Jace, our opponent draws 3 and discards 2. So this might be about milling us, so that could be backfire maybe. We have a little bit of graveyard fetch, and also we're going to be killing the opponent at a steady rate thanks to the warped landscapes. So let's go playing this one first. let's see how the opponent deals with the Blight Caster. The Jace activations. Oh no, Galvanic Bombardment deals 2 damage to this. And this one later on is going to be dealing more for each copy in the graveyard. So it does X, where X is 2 plus the number of Galvanic Bombardments in the graveyard. So our opponent untaps. The Oath of Jace lets the opponent scry 1. The opponent uses a plus ability, and here comes the milling by the hand of the Sphinx tutelage. So here we are going to make our opponent lose 1 life and start hitting the Jace with the Shambling Bends. Or I think maybe it would be more appropriate to hit the face instead of the Jace in the attack phase. That is because I think that we have to kill the opponent before he gets to mill us. He has plenty of drawing cards here, plus the scrying effect. This is a very powerful milling engine, and also the Gaia Reach Sanitarium. We've lost the Graph Rats, and the second Sphinx tutelage might be our loss. So, retreat to Miria and finish. We do not want to use the power of the Lightcaster yet. And the second Shambling Bends to place another creature on play. And we have double Shambling Bends for next turn. So let's see what our opponent does. We get to draw and discard 1. Let's discard a Warped Landscape. And also the opponent is going to mill us. So this is quite good. Whenever a creature you control attacks, the opponent player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So no point in this turn, there is no point into attacking, but even if Jace makes this 0-3, we get some benefit from Campaign of Vengeance, but we are steadily losing cards from the library. We've lost 1 Sigil of the Empty Throne. We're going to be milled for 12 this turn. So we have to rush into the life total of the opponent. Has to drop as fast as possible. Lucky for us, we have these 2 enchantments in play. We get milled for at least 12, and a Jace could replay that 1 card. So we also could recover Sanitarium Skeletons. Think in the eyes. That. Okay, we're going to, I think, oh, that's okay. Campaign of Vengeance, I think, is necessary to use this time. doesn't matter too much because the thing in the ice can perfectly block anything. So here we might lose against double Sphinx tutelage. We are not running enchantment removal here. And that's it. Well, this is a very powerful kneeling happening to us, but okay. Let's accept another defeat. We have no tools against this kind of deck. Our only hope would have been to get to kill the opponent before that might happen, and even suppression bonds wouldn't have helped. So our deck, at any rate, is a bit slow. So of course we decided to keep a hand with too many lands. That also might be a mistake. Let's do one final. Since this game was a little bit fast, we can try once again and let's see how it goes. So at least we are learning what kind of hands we do not want to have to begin with. So for instance, we have 5 lands again, and we are not going to keep this hand. So this time we had 4 lands in hand and very expensive cards to play. So let's keep and try to make something out of this and hope to draw into something that we can play soon enough. An aggressive opener with the Anointer of Champions from the other side. So we have to hurry and find some action soon. We receive 1 damage, so our opponent did not play land yet. Let's see what happens now. Second planes, and the equipment Stoneforge Masterword. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature that shares a creature type. So let's go ahead and drop planes and no play from us. So still not play from our side. This is looking dire. Our opponent can enchant here, paying 2. He's going to be using humans, of course. Talis Lieutenant puts a +1/+1 counter over here, and now we receive 2 points of damage, and this one is going to be growing when the opponent plays additional humans, but lucky for us, apparently he has no more lands to play, and we are going to drop the Blood Cursed Knight. That is very likely to get exiled this turn. Let's see how our opponent responds. Maybe he equips the Lieutenant and then attacking. Now it has become a 2/2. And I think that I'm going to be forced to blocking here because this could grow out of hand after our opponent starts playing other humans, and now we have our two ingredients to melt the Midnight Scavengers. I'm going to do a very nasty play, maybe. Do I want to use suppression bombs over the artifact? Doesn't seem too reasonable, but next turn I want to play the Scavengers. That is quite hilarious. So now the opponent cannot equip the Stoneforge Masterwork. Consul Lieutenant. First strike, renowned, and if it is renowned, the other creatures get +1/+1. So now we are going to play Midnight Scavengers and get back the vampire from the graveyard. So we have another play available. Yes. Now I'm assuming the opponent is going to attack with all creatures, since now he has always watching, giving them vigilance, and this one has first strike, so no attacking from my side. I mean no blocking from my side. Consul's Lieutenant got renowned. Let's see, the other side from this is a 5/6 with menace. So let's try to melt the creatures together. Let's see how the opponent decides to respond. So the melt. The first time I melt this against a human opponent, I'm going to attack for 6. Might not be a good choice because the opponent has 7 damage against us, but I'm going to play the Militia Captain to block one of these. So Declaration in Stone finishes off, and we are dead again. So kind of reckless to do the melding, but I was maybe too excited to have the meld happening, and we are dead now just because of that. So remember, kids, do not get too excited about new cards and lose games because of that. And defeated. So let's okay, we should be able to win at least once more. Okay, this is it. If we win this, we're going to be happy. Um, if we don't win, I think we also are going to be happy, but not so much. And we are going to be reviewing if the deck can be improved, because we are having so hard times against us. So we want to be able to play the cards that we like. So here comes a vampire deck, most likely, or perhaps a werewolf deck. So I like keeping this because we might get to play the Sanitary Skeleton or the Hunger Militia Captain later on, depending on maybe if we draw an additional land. And well, at least the opponent has a vampire, as I expected. Double retreat to Hagra, quite good. Let's play the skeleton, and we did not draw a untapped land, so I'm going to use the Evolving Wilds because I want to be able to play the other cards for sure, and a swamp in case I need to use Sinister Concoction and sacrifice it on the same turn. So the skeleton blocks the vampire, but I think that you don't want to sacrifice itself to give nothing counters. I assume so, of course. And now I'm going to play the retreat number 1 and pass the turn. And if we get to draw into additional Evolving Wilds, it will be quite good. Liliana's Elite. His strength is grown for each other creature in the graveyard. So very powerful. So we do not draw into a land, but I think I'm going to attack first to see what our opponent chooses to do. He can double block, maybe. He can block with cannot pump up the aristocrats, so we got rid of one of the creatures that made this one bigger, but I don't mind at currently I don't mind. Maybe later we are going to have to use this Sinister Concoction on the Liliana's Elite. Let's see, apparently our opponent's running just black. The mortar killed the Vampire Knight, and we are getting 2 damage against us. If we draw into a land, it will be quite good to make a double activation from the retreat. Instead is a 5 mana enchantment that we cannot play, so here I'm going to attack for 1. And I think I'm going to play the Militia Captain plus the Sinister Concoction. Come on, land. Are you a land? Card number 48. Please be any land. Maybe a warped landscape. Dark Salvation. This one is going to place 2 zombie tokens, and then this is creating -3 from the other zombies in play, and we are hit yet again for 2. Okay, Westvale Abbey, quite nice. So double retreat at this point might be good. We get to gain 2 points of life. And we are going to skip the attack since these zombies can easily kill the skeleton. So let's see what happens next. A powerful Gabony on Hallowed whenever another creature dies grows. So do we want to prevent damage here? So I think not quite yet, because the retreat lets us gain more life later on. So Helios Pilgrim for 3. Alright, I'm going to discard, kill this one, and which one of these? Okay, oh, you are going out. That's the turn. Skip the attack and continue. Let's hope our opponent doesn't realize the danger of the warped landscape next to the retreat to Hydra, and we get to kill his Liliana's elite. Okay. Now we block this. We are going to sacrifice this and search for any basic card, maybe a plains. This one gains Death Touch and can get rid of this little guy here. Another land is quite fine, so let's go with Helios Pilgrim here. Let's see, of course we want to search for what could help us better. Let's go with a death weight. Play a swamp. And I think I want to kill one of these tokens. Just in case, killing this one possibly is not the best, because our opponent might return this to his hand later on. Wait a second. Here on the game, and I'm going to skip blocking. Our opponent has now a flyer, and our life total is quite in a dangerous position here. And retreat to Meria is not going to save us. Pious Evangel gives us 1 life. So we get to survive 1 extra turn, I think. Right, if our opponent is running another murder, we are pretty much dead. So, in a full attack with probably all of them. This is a fantastic card. When this enters the battlefield, it comes with the help of a 1/1 spirit token, and you can pay 2 mana and discard cards to return it to the graveyard. So this is quite what we wanted to find. Shuntlet Band, we get a token and we gain some life. The only problem is that we do not have enough mana to activate Pious Evangel, but other than that we are back at 10th and we can block some of the attackers from the opponent, so far we can survive, maybe not completely out of danger, but if we can survive next turn, I think we're going to be good. So here 2 plus 2, 2 times 4, and the flyers total of 10 damage for us. So what we should do here probably is to prevent some of the damage here, like this maybe. So we receive 6, and we are at 4. Isolation Zone, too expensive, and it's not going to save us. We can spawn a 1/1 cleric. We can sacrifice this. We can exile something, but I think this is a loss again. So it's time for us to think what happened, why is this happening, why did we lose. So the main problem here is that our cheap creatures are too weak and our expensive creatures are not too powerful. So that's it, that's the simple explanation, and maybe we have to cut down on so many expensive enchantments, and maybe we can do with maybe more impressive early drops and go and live. Also, this one, the ability from this could kill us, so I think we should keep only the cards that actually are helping the deck and remove all of those that are secondary and try to do something different. And now we receive a bunch of damage here. Okay, so let's take this and a learning experience, and next time we are going to make a better plays and better decks. For the time being, this is going to be the video for this time. We are going to be coming back to this deck sooner or later. I'm going to say, give you a farewell, opening a new booster pack nearly at 40% of the collection, and we are opening the following 6 marvelous cards from Eldritch Moon. the first one is this cemetery recruitment from a sorcery for 2 that lets us return a target creature from the graveyard, and if it's a zombie, we draw a card. A legendary creature spider, Ishkana, Graf Widow, Reach, 3/5, Delirium. When Ishkana Graf Widow enters the battlefield, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, put 3 1/2 green spider creature tokens with Reach onto the battlefield, and by paying 7, target opponent loses 1 life for each spider you control. So, if all the spiders that are produced by the Delirium plus the Ishkana itself lives, we can activate this to gain 4, no, to make our opponent lose 4 life, and we might get additional spiders maybe. Blessed Alliance, a very nice instant for 2 with a very flexible escalate ability, so we can choose up to 3 actions if we can afford it, so we can gain life and tap creatures or force the opponent to sacrifice an attacking creature. So a very versatile instant, and it is even better than the Celestial Flare, I think, because Celestial Flare costs 2 white and doesn't have the option to choose the other effects. Craft Harvest, a very quite nice looking enchantment for a zombie deck. So the zombies that you control have menace. The opponent is going to be having difficulties to block the menace creature, and you can also pay some mana to exile a creature from the graveyard and add tokens to some zombie tokens to the battlefield. So very nice. The Fogwalker and the Spirit card, and the Drag Under. Very sweet. You return a target creature to its owner hat. It can be opponent's creature or your own, and also get to draw a card, so that's quite fine. The only downside of this is that since it's sorcery speed, you cannot use it as a response to save some of your creatures, but otherwise it's quite fine. So, quite interesting spider. So just to see, let's check what other spiders are currently available on the green collection. Let's just go with this. We are going to edit here and pay attention to the green creatures, and we are going to fast forward to see what spiders do I currently have. There is possibility that there are more spiders waiting on the next booster packs to be found, but let's try to see what are we currently going to be able to play. So here is the Ishkana, Craft Widow. So far 1 spider. That's it. The single spider with all the spiders that could be in the game. There is only that one, I think, that I missed some other spider. Come on, there is something. Okay, this is here. This is a bug. This counts as an insect, giant mantis, similar but not quite spider. And okay, so we have the mantis. Here we have another insect, but doesn't count. So spider sense stingling. Too bad. I thought that okay, this one, spoiler of souls. Look at this. Is this does this look like a spider to you? Well, it is a horror creature. And let's see. So in green we did not find a spider, and I don't think I'm just checking on black, but I don't think that we are going to find another spider here. Nope, 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 nope. No, 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 no. So, nope, as we like to call these spiders. Nope, no more spiders. So, too bad. It could be interesting to run a spider deck. I would like to have the spider deck sometime, but since we only have one spider card, it's not going to happen. Let's just check if there is some pending spider waiting for me to be opened. So in the graded zone, let's see, I imagine that if it happens to be one, it's going to be on green. No, so far no. So this is a Dryad Horror, not a spider. Not a spider. The one and only spider so far. Not spider. Not spider. So no, no, no. A crab, almost there. Another insect. This is a. Imagine if this is a spider. Oh, that's so gross. Octopus, insect. Come on. Why so many bugs and no spiders? Come on. Come on, Wizards of the Coast. Why? So this expansion is missing the spiders. So if you had the paper version of this card, I hope you are enjoying this with their spider friends. But otherwise, this is a forever alone spider, and if you do not have Delirium, it's going to be sitting there as a sad 3/5 with reach. So that's a very poor spider. That let's hope that next expansion he's getting more friends. So that's it for today. So sayonara. I hope you have a nice day, and don't forget to leave your comments and suggestions below the video. So goodbye.